The more we go through life, the more it becomes evident that life was designed to break you down. Life was designed to break down the human spirit to such a degree that it forces spiritual powers to activate within the vessel. However, not everyone reaches this point, or when they do, it's darkness instead of light. Or it could appear like darkness at first, and then somehow the light starts to shine through, whatever the case is, right? There's a tremendous amount of power behind healing from pain and all of the suffering that was meant to destroy you into literally into oblivion, into non-existence. Now, welcome to this channel. This is Yasira, the Spiritual Samurai. And in this video, I'm going to share just some thoughts and a little bit of insight that I've gathered so far, that I've been living on this earth in this lifetime for about 29 years. It's a cold winter, but not as cold as from my hometown. So thankfully, it's not too bad, but I'm going to share this. You know, I remember I used to go for a long jogs. You know, I would go jogging at the track field, you know, or outside or wherever, right? Go for a run. That's how I dealt with stress. Listen to music and run, jog, whatever, right? Disassociate. That was my form of healing escapism. And so what I've learned too is that I would get tired. You know, sometimes you run so much and you have all this anger and rage, and you know, you're upset, you're frustrated, you might be depressed, you might be going through a lot, and so you go for a run to relieve all that stress. And then I get to a point where I become exhausted. You know, I don't feel as replenished. I just feel tired as hell. And I think that a lot of us are going through that point in life where we're just tired as fuck, you know, and life can do that. And I'm going to use that analogy, and you're going to see where I'm going to come from. And from this angle is like, I would run and run. And I'm trying to get that euphoria, you know, the runner's high. The runner's high, I think that it's like a spiritual power. Now, they don't call it spiritual, but it has to be something similar to that. It has to be something like the sense of euphoria. To be able to gain euphoria without getting high, without, you know, getting drunk, or not even a buzz, you know, without even sipping any liquor, you're able to feel this joy from within. And so that's what I was doing. I was pursuing that feeling of euphoria through running. And that is why I consider running to be a form of healing escapism, because we want to escape reality. A lot of us do. You know, I used to drink a lot more before, right? So as I started implementing running and jogging, I began to notice some changes. And what I'm going to show is, well, what I'm going to share with you is how, you know, I would find myself getting tired. And I'm like, why am I still tired? Why am I not getting this runner's high? I had to be consistent with this routine. And soon enough, what came to my mind as I was doing this is I started meditating as I run, imagining myself as my higher self, you know, imagining where I come from in regards to my ancestry, and, you know, learning about certain things. Like, for example, in my case, this was about 2012, 2013, around that time, like 12, 13 years ago. So it was a while ago. But I learned about, you know, part of my I guess you could say part of my historical heritage, being connected to the southwestern Native Americans, also along the northwestern Mexico area. So I learned that some of those tribes, there was one in particular that they were known for running long distances, especially around that region. You know, it's a good amount of tribes too that are into this, because that area is desert land. So imagine the desert land and being able to survive those type of conditions, and then being able to run long distance. And a lot of Native American tribes, for the most part, American Indians, right, and even in some parts of northern Mexico, natives, they were known for running long distances. Like, this was a normal thing. You know, it was, they were messengers. They would run like almost 100 miles to inform the other tribes or other allies, people that were connected to them, about what's going to happen, if there's going to be a war, or if there's danger coming, or if there's a famine, anything like that. They would be messengers that would be sent to, and they would run from one place to another, and it would be like 100 miles. So when I learned about this, I said, wow, that region is part of my, even though it's been a while now, I'm still connected through bloodline of, that these certain tribes that participated in this and had this thing that they would do. So I started thinking, I always had a thing about running. I always had that thing. I had it in my spirit, even when back then I was like 16. Something told me I gotta run. I gotta get over this alcoholic tendencies that I've been struggling with. And I had to replace it with that. So with that being said, once I came to that information, I said, this is interesting, because I remember I also would have reoccurring dreams about running very quickly, kind of like the Flash. I started having those dreams for the longest, ever since around this time period. So it's like running really quickly. There's a symbolism behind that. And if maybe for you, learn about who you are. And that could be who you are as an individual, who you are spiritually, who you are in regards to your connection to the divine or to God, and also who you are as far as your ancestry. It's important to know, the things that make you you in every aspect, you see. So I say all that to say that these are things that can empower you, and it gives you ideas on what to meditate on when you happen to be, let's say, whether you're praying, sitting down, relaxing, catching your breath, really focusing on your breathing techniques, doing Tai Chi, or doing some martial arts, cardio, whatever you're doing, you want to have your mind, you need to practice mindfulness, and it has to be tailor-made to who you are. And I find that is more powerful. Just like the imagery that I described to you. Whenever I would run and I would feel tired, I think about, I have no reason to be tired, because I'm not going nowhere. Like, I literally just ran a lap and I'm already tired, and I'm like feeling like, come on now. So I had to push myself to get to the point where I'm in tip-top shape and I can run for miles. And I'm like, well, if my ancestors were able to run hundreds of miles, or at least 120 or 110, what is stopping me right now? When they were under a diet of rice, beans, and squash, and even to this day, the way I was brought up, rice, beans, squash, corn. So it's kind of like the same tradition goes on, only difference is that the knowledge of self has been diluted, and it's been slowly diminished through assimilating with Spanish colonization, as well as now white American assimilation, as well, assimilating to white American society as we come into the United States, or whatever, what have you. You get what I'm saying? So it's like part of ourselves becomes lost, also through modern, what do you call it? Modernity, the modern times, approaching the modern Western times. But also, it's important to know who you are. You can adapt to your surroundings, yes. There are certain things that can make us better, but we have to know who we are at the same time. There has to be a balance, you know? And so I say that to say that I was like thinking about how far, you know, how far they would run, and the fact that I come from this type of lineage. So it's like I want to embody that same resilience. I want to embody the ability to do this. You see? And so I will put myself in a position where I imagine that I'm in that landscape, you know, and I'm just running and I never stop, you know. Another thing that would come to my mind, because that was the first imagery, that is the ancestral part, you know, of what I've learned about myself. And then as I start exercising this mindfulness as I'm running, I notice that I'm able to, you know, consistently do it, and I have my music on, and now I'm visualizing myself as a more powerful type of person, and I'm able to do more. But then I get to a part where another thought came to my mind as I'm running. And what's coming to my mind is basically, you know, I start thinking, okay, my body wants to give up now. I am tired. My body says, I gotta let it go. I gotta rest, you know. But then I'm like, nah, man, it's only been a few miles. Come on, you know. And so then there's this other aspect that resurfaces into my mind. It's telling me, connect with the spirit. If you ran out of energy now, connect with the infinite source. You see, the body is physical. So my physical body is tired. And I realized that my physical body is limited, right? It's so limited because the energy easily depletes. So how can I activate more energy right now? And then that's what came to my mind. Connect with the spirit. Connect with the spirit. So now running became next level meditation for me. It became like, not only am I, you know, thinking about, you go from thinking about your heritage or, you know, your history to, okay, now we're getting spiritual. And I feel like that's what it was leading up to, is the spiritual aspect of it. And that is being able to basically, it's kind of like you use up so much of your physical energy to the point that now you have no choice but to try to activate an infinite source of energy through the spirit, basically. And I don't know why, as I'm describing this sounds a lot like fasting. You know, when you're fasting, it's like you're starving the flesh and you feel hungry, and when you're not used to it, it can be too much for you. But the more you become accustomed to it, now it forces the spirit to take over. You see, the spirit takes over the vessel more when you starve the flesh. And the whole purpose of fasting is to, not only for, you know, health reasons, but also it cleans you out, not only in your digestive tract, but even spiritually, because now it's forcing your body to practice self-control. It's forcing your body to adapt to not always getting what you want, or forcing it to have discipline, to where you're not going to always, like, it's kind of like, it goes against being impulsive, you know, it goes against being impulsive. So now you start to develop this control, self-control, and being able to control your urges, and being able to resist temptation. Because in order to fast successfully, you have to be able to resist temptation to simply eating things that are not going to really help you, you know, as far as nutrition goes. It's almost like you're training, it's like you're resetting your mind to only crave things that are going to fuel the body, you see. And this is not only food that fuels the body, but even spiritual food as well. Spiritual food can work in the same way. So you're forcing your body by starving the flesh through fasting. now you are forcing the body to want to tap into another type of source to nourish itself. And how do I know? Well, because I have fasted before, and I recall years ago that sometimes I would get so busy with writing some really good stuff. I would get so busy because writing is another form of meditation. That's the thing. Writing, whether it's songwriting, poetry, short stories, depending on what you're writing about, or journaling, cathartic writing. Also, when you write about what's your deepest pains and being able to release it, and not allowing it to have control over you. You see, or running, just like in this video that I'm talking about, running became a form of meditation as well. So meditation can come in various forms. All you're doing is practicing mindfulness. And like I said, as I start using up all of my physical energy, I'm like, man, I'm tired. I start to now introduce myself to, it's time to activate another source. And that would be a more spiritual source. I imagine myself like my physical body has given up, but my spirit never will. And I start to imagine my spirit becoming stronger the longer I go. I said, the longer I can go running, even when I feel tired, I know that something within me can continue to go on. There's a willpower inside me that says that I can still keep going. That sometimes the mind could be tricking me to stop. The mind is telling me to quit. And this is how you also increase mental fortitude, because now you teach yourself, you teach your mind to, hey, who's boss? Who you gotta basically let the mind know who's boss, right? And sometimes the mind could trick you. The devil uses the mind to trick us, to make us weak, to make us give in to things, to make us surrender. But that's why fasting is powerful, and also meditating, whether it comes in the form of writing or running. These things are very effective, and I find that in my journey it's been very effective. And then ever since then, every time I run, I start to feel like I have more energy, and I became more consistent with it. And of course it builds up over time. In the beginning I wasn't running that for that long, but it's a process, and you just keep going at it. It's all about consistency. Even if your first week is terrible, you keep going at it, and then you use mindfulness, the power of meditation, the power of your mind, basically, to activate. Now you're activating not only your mind, the power of your mind, but also the spirit. Now the spirit is becoming involved. Now you have this energy that you're generating within yourself, to where now you're developing willpower, strength, resilience, and also building up powerful images that are positive and empowering. And this is actually going to help you psychologically too. This is what's going to help you heal, because now you start to see yourself as your higher self. You start to see yourself the way God sees you. And now all the things that you've dealt with, all the abuse, the trauma, all these negative experiences you've had, it starts to lose power the more you connect with God, or the more you connect with the divine source of energy. And how are we doing that? Well, just exactly like how I described through this whole video. And I know because I've done it. And then I start to see a difference. I'm like, I feel so empowered right now. You see, so that's why I continue to do what I do. And even when I make these videos, I start to have that kind of same feeling, like I'm helping someone out there. You see, my writing, or of course when I'm running, it helps me. But now that I'm spreading the message and I'm sharing my messages and the insight that I've gathered in my own experiences, and sharing other people's insight too, because there's so much valuable knowledge out here that I'm very thankful to have that we have the access to it, because this is helping us. This is validating us on a mass scale. It's helping with our spiritual growth. It's helping with all kinds of things that's going to allow us to transform ourselves into very highly empowered individuals we are going to become what we were meant to become, regardless of all the obstacles, all of the different pitfalls they try to put in front of us. See, it becomes hard for the enemy to destroy us the more that we continue to connect with the spirit and not allow ourselves to become a slave to the flesh. You see, being a slave to the flesh is what makes you weak. That's why everything about this world is all about self-indulgence. Just, falling for temptations every time. That just makes you a sucker. It makes you somebody that's easy to manipulate, easy to take advantage of, and to basically ultimately destroy. It becomes easy to take over your mind when you live in the flesh. When you live in the spirit, you become sharper, wiser, stronger in every way. You become a force to be reckoned with. You become like a spiritual revolutionary. It's like they cannot stop you no matter what, and you have no fear in your heart because you're being powered by the spirit, right? The flesh has fear. People are filled with fear and anxiety, and they're easy to be controlled because mass media and the enemy has been able to control the majority of people because they are living in the flesh, which again, that makes them easily malleable, right, to any agenda. That's why the majority are empty vessels or weak vessels. The weak vessels, they still got a soul, but they haven't quite gotten there yet. They have not tapped into their ability to really connect with the spirit directly, and so there's that. But for us that have mastered a lot of these things, we're seen as a threat. And here's the thing: once you get to this point where you have a lot of power, a lot of spiritual power, you have a lot of fearlessness, faith, because it's faith over fear. You have a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and strength, and you just, you have a lot of peace, and that is all this spiritual wealth put together. You have a diversified portfolio of spiritual wealth. You have all these things going on, right? And so when you have this, you also have to realize how powerful you are. And the fact that the enemy knows that. And so what he tries to do is he tries to snatch that from us by tricking us into giving into lower vibrational type of energy or lower vibrational reactions, like anger, being angry about something, getting aggressive. That's what he likes to do. And I know this, and because he does it all the time, and also because we're so passionate about justice, the enemy will try to use injustices to rile us up, to make us very angry at things, and it just keeps us distracted. You see all these stories and stuff. We don't really know if some of this stuff is even true sometimes, half the time. So try not to focus on all this stuff that's going on as far as some of these stories. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be aware, because you definitely should, but know how to compartmentalize your emotions when it comes to information. It's good to know, but don't get attached. Observe, but don't absorb, which is like a common thing that they say about for people that are very empathetic. We have to keep that in check. But another thing I want to say is that before I close this video is, once you reach this level, right, of spiritual awareness, and you realize you are an empowered individual because you've mastered these things, it's like you have total control of your own life in every aspect, especially self-control and discipline. Those are two important things that majority of people do not know how to do. They don't care to do it, or what have you. A lot of people are controlled easily, but you're somebody that's not easily controlled. You are reaching the genius level, intellectually, intuitively, and spiritually, which makes you a threat. So it's important also, if you have all these spiritual gifts, is that you have all of that. It's important that you master the art of the gentle fist, which is what I like to call. And that term gentle fist, I get that from an anime show from called Naruto. And if you've watched Naruto, then you know the gentle fist is a power that comes from the Hyuga clan, like Neji Hyuga and Hinata Hyuga, and they are able to basically, to make a long story, I'm gonna have to make another video about that, but the gentle fist is like, although it doesn't look like it does a lot of damage, but it does. You see, it doesn't look too crazy, but when they hit you in certain points of the body, right? When they hit their opponent in a certain way, they're basically disrupting the chakra points. The ley lines of the body are being disrupted by every precise hit that lands upon the body of the opponent. And so on a spiritual level, of course, now I'm not saying like the art of the gentle fist, you're literally beating someone's ass, right? Even though that sounds nice, but you have to, I call it the art of the gentle fist, because it's like, it's almost like you're messing up a person's energy, but without laying a hand on them. You see, that's kind of how I imagine it. So if you ever see a scene from Naruto of one of the Hyuga people fighting somebody, then it kind of looks like that, because he'll say 16 palm, you know, whatever, and it's kind of like this real trippy scene, right? But it's basically, like I said, they're hitting those energy points, and there's a way to do that without actually fighting these people physically. Now that's a whole nother level, meaning that you're not a pushover, you're a good person, you have a good heart, but you're not letting people get over on you. But at the same time, you master the art of defense as well as counter punching without actually throwing physical hits. You are fighting this spiritually, you're fighting spiritual warfare, you're combating spiritual warfare. And so when the demons attack, they get to a point where now they're afraid to attack you. You see, they're gonna still attack you, but it won't be as frequent, because now they know that you have those type of, you know, you have the gentle fist, you know. And also the demons within people that try to mess with you, they know that they can't come at you like that, you see. But also you understand that you also can't come at them on a physical level, but you know how to come at them spiritually. And they're afraid to even come at you spiritually, because they know that you have elevated your spiritual ranking, right? You have all of this power within you, the light, the divine light within. They can tell you're different, in other words. They know. And the fact that you're not afraid, the fact that you are a force to be reckoned with, and you speak with wisdom, and you have a lot of peace in the midst of chaos. Oh yeah, they're going to be the ones that are afraid of you, instead of you bowing down to them. And there you go. There you have it. I've said enough in this video. And again, if you've made it this far, I thank you for listening. And have a great evening. And God bless.